Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to our event on building vibrant and resilient communities for the future. My name is Andrea Dix, and I'm the president of Community Foundations of Canada. Today, I am joining you from my home on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. The Healthy Communities Initiative is a program that has had an impact from coast to coast to coast. I recognize that we are all joining from different places, and therefore you reside and work in a different Indigenous territory. I encourage you to take a moment to reflect and share your own connection to the land and its original stewards. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that in our world today, there are many who are being removed from their land. Our colleagues and friends and community members, in particular in Ukraine, who are being removed from their communities, who are fighting for their health and safety. We hold their future, we hold their hearts in our minds today as we reflect on the importance of land. I am grateful that you have all joined us here today. Communities have been dealing with tremendous challenges since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic nearly 2 years ago this month. Despite these challenges, the Healthy Communities Initiative reminds us how everyday people in communities across the country can come together to transform public spaces and build a more resilient future together. Now, before we start our event today, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. So a friendly Zoom reminder. You can see and hear us, but we cannot see or hear you. We encourage you to engage with the session through the chat box. This session is available in English, French, and with American Sign Language and Quebec Sign Language. To access the French and English interpretation, you will see a globe at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that globe, you can switch between French and English. For sign language, our interpreters, you will see, have their video in spotlight mode, so you can see their interpretation throughout the event. Now, I am pleased to welcome Elder Claudette Commanda to provide welcoming remarks. Elder Commanda is an Algonquin Anishinaabe from Pickering-Uxbridge Anishinaabe First Nation. She has dedicated her career to promoting First Nations rights, history, and culture. A devoted and inspiring mentor, Elder Commanda has taught at the University of Ottawa's Institute of Women's Studies, Faculty of Law, Faculty of Education, and the Aboriginal Studies program, and is a special advisor to the Dean on Reconciliation. She is also the executive director of the First Nations Confederacy of Cultural Education Centers and has previously served on the Board of Governors for the First Nations University of Canada. Welcome, Elder Commanda.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I also want to thank you for acknowledging the homeland of the Algonquin people, giving that recognition to my ancestors that we have been here since time immemorial and we continue to be here. So thank you. I also say thank you for acknowledging the people of Ukraine who at this time are, well, we know the experiences that they're having, and we have to hold them in our hearts and in our prayers. No one wants war, and certainly no one wants to be displaced from their homelands. And if it's any people here in this country called Canada that totally understand the displacement and dispossession of our ancestral lands, are we, the First Nations people. So we offer our prayers and we raise our hearts and our kindness to the people of Ukraine. I welcome each and every one of you beautiful people to this homeland of the Algonquin, my ancestors, our nation. Yes, we have been here since time immemorial, and we must ensure that the land is here forevermore, everlasting for our children. Land is so important. And what comes with land is our way of life, our way of knowing, our way of doing. The land provides not only our sustenance, not only the water and the food, but it provides every essence of who we are as the First Peoples, our identity, our culture, our governance, our ways of knowing and our ways of being. I can't say it any more simpler than these words. But it also provides for community. And so the Canadian Urban Institute, the work that you're doing is all about communities. You're gathering here today to talk about Canada Healthy Communities Initiative, building vibrant and resilient communities for the future. And we must always look to the future to ensure that our children have a future, to ensure our children have the right to their future. Community is so important. There is a word in the Algonquin language, we say mamawe. It means together. And this is what community is all about. It is people together in unity of spirit, in unity in that heart and soul of families, of friends, neighbors, history and culture. Together, mamawe, together as people, as relatives, as community members, we're providing a future for the children. So the work you're doing is great work. Continue. It's all about the children. I always reflect back on what my elders told me, and in particular with my grandfather, the late William Commanda, when he always said, no matter what we do, the title we hold, the work that's before us, and how we put our heart and soul, our passion, our vision, our love and respect, it must always be for the children, We come together in this circle, and it is said when we are together in a circle, we must acknowledge one another. And I acknowledge you. I acknowledge you as my relatives. I acknowledge you as my friends. I acknowledge you as colleagues. And in our teaching as the Anishinaabe Algonquin people, when we come together, there are protocols, the protocols such as acknowledging the land that you are on, and I thank you for acknowledging the Algonquin land. And the next protocol is that I welcome you into the homeland of the Algonquin people. Then we acknowledge the first ancestors of this land. Those first ancestors, the Algonquin ancestors. As I acknowledge the ancestors of all Indigenous peoples from coast to coast to coast, and I acknowledge all your ancestors, it is important that we acknowledge our ancestors, no matter where we've come from. Never forget your ancestors, because ancestors in essence are part of the community. Absolutely. In our way of knowing and understanding what community means, mamawe, minupamadzuin, coming together to make that good life for our children, remembering our ancestors who continue to walk with us each and every day, remembering our relatives who are in that spirit world that give us that strength to continue the work that we need to do tomorrow, and acknowledging one another that our responsibilities to build today and tomorrow. And chimi wedge kibijan omanongum ni buksendam moshkawiziwin ni buksen sendam minupamadzwin ni buksendam zagiedwin. When we come together and we put our minds together, we put our hearts together, we put our spirit together. That is unity, unity of self, unity, community of many of brothers and sisters. And we raise that voice and our spirit to that higher power. And we say, thank you, Creator, for bringing everyone together. We thank you, Creator, for all of your blessings. We thank the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the four directions for their kindness to be here to provide wisdom. And it is my prayer, Creator, the blessing for the people who are here, that they continue to have that strength, Mashkawiziwin. They continue to have that good health, Minupumadzuin. And they continue to have Zagieduin, that love, the love for the work they do for the people and coming together, Mamawe, coming together in that community of spirit, of kindness, and helping one another. Chimi-Wedge, thank you for hearing my words and providing these opening remarks. And you take good care and continue that good work. And just remember, community, building vibrant, resilient communities. The foundation of community is the heart and soul of the people who make this happen. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you, Elder Commanda. You have been with us for several of these conversations over the last year, and your words always begin and center us in a moment of reflection and celebration for the work that is possible when we do center community. So thank you. Thank you very much. I know many of you, I think many of you are familiar with the Healthy Communities Initiative. You may be part of a project that is taking place, or perhaps you are seeing these projects pop up in your community. At Community Foundations of Canada, we have had the privilege of seeing these projects take shape in every province and territory. Alongside our network of more than 200 community foundations and with incredible partners like the Canadian Urban Institute, we have witnessed how the best solutions are found in community. Community-led infrastructure is creative, not just solving problems by delivering multi-layered solutions that build more livable, vibrant, and inclusive communities, but doing it all with the community at the center. We have watched a community garden not only create green space, but help address food security. We have witnessed how adding bike and walking paths to a city center not only provides mobility options, but also creates active outdoor space to improve mental health. After 2 years of the pandemic, our communities are facing complex and intersectional challenges. The creative solutions from communities, like those through the Healthy Communities Initiative, are meeting those challenges. The Healthy Communities Initiative is also showing us the big impact that small change can have. As an example, one public Wi-Fi point in a park can transform that space into an outdoor office, into a gym, into a space for homeschooling children, or a place to relax when homes feel full. Across the country, through the Healthy Communities Initiative, community-led solutions are transforming public spaces to build more vibrant and inclusive communities. Now, I am pleased to share our tremendous appreciation and gratitude to the Government of Canada for their support of the Healthy Communities Initiative. To date, the Government of Canada has invested $31 million into this initiative. Through this program, we are collaboratively shifting power to a grassroots movement that is rethinking infrastructure and building more resilient communities as we look towards pandemic recovery. I am so pleased to welcome Jennifer O'Connell, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure, and Communities. Parliamentary Secretary O'Connell knows the value of grounding work in community very well. She started her career at the local level as a city councillor, regional councillor, and deputy mayor in Pickering, Ontario. Welcome, Jennifer. We are delighted you are here to share a very special announcement with us today.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you for that introduction. I too am joining you from the traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe. And Elder Commanda, I just wanted to thank you again for that important reminder and message to kick off this event. It was really inspiring, and thank you for sharing that with all of us. I'm really pleased to join all of you virtually, but for this really exciting announcement. And I want to again thank Community Foundations of Canada and the Canadian Urban Institute for hosting us today and for all of your work throughout this pandemic. As we know, COVID-19 has impacted so many aspects of our lives, including how we spend time together, how we exercise or relax, and how we access services and explore our communities. As a government, we have remained focused on the health and safety of Canadians, and as we emerge out of this pandemic, we hope to be building a better, more inclusive Canada. At the same time, local governments and community organizations across the country discovered new ways to ensure that Canadians continue to benefit from everything they have to offer while respecting public health guidelines. Whether it's enhancing walking or cycling paths, hosting pop-up art installations, adding signage to encourage social distancing, developing apps to support remote access to services, or creating new outdoor Wi-Fi hotspots. Projects like these, and the ones that Andrea described as well, show us just how these investments in small-scale infrastructure can make a really big difference in people's lives. That's really what the investments I'm here to talk about today are all about, helping jumpstart community-based projects that make a big impact locally. Last year, we called on organizations to apply for funding under the new $31 million Canada Healthy Communities Initiative to identify and fund solutions that could be put into place quickly to improve the lives of residents both during and following the pandemic, and to help communities adapt to the challenges that they've been facing. Needless to say, there was an exciting response. As such, I'm proud to announce that through the second call for applications, our government will be supporting over 350 projects across the country, injecting a total of $16.9 million into local communities right across Canada. Take, for instance, the impact this federal funding will have on these three communities. The municipality of Pond Inlet and Nunavut will receive $100,000 to strengthen the local food system by providing residents free access to fresh, locally grown fruits and vegetables. The municipality will create a hydroponics community garden, which will also provide support to the local Minima Food Bank Society. The Municipalité des Petits Rochers in New Brunswick will receive over $166,000 to provide an accessible and safe space for those who have been affected by the pandemic the most by creating an outdoor community learning complex where students, seniors, and many others can gather. And the Yoga Outreach Society in British Columbia will receive over $75,000 to create a training course to teach women and Two-Spirit people the skills to incorporate yoga and mindfulness-based practices in combination with traditional Indigenous practices into their lives. This initiative will build strength-based approaches and capacity for healing and wellness within these communities by creating a network of Indigenous facilitators in that province that will expand access to the practice of yoga in a safe and culturally relevant manner. These are just a couple of examples, but great examples of how creative local solutions can improve the lives of Canadians and how they can create safer, more vibrant, and more inclusive spaces in our communities now and well into the future. These projects are also part of more than 650 projects altogether from Halifax to Hamilton to Victoria that receive support through the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative. I look forward to hearing from people who are championing these projects and learning more about how they are helping their communities adapt to the changing needs of Canadians at this important time. I also want to express my sincere appreciation again for Community Foundations of Canada. Their expertise and strong network of partners has helped identify community-driven projects that will better the lives of Canadians. For all the challenges that it has created, COVID-19 has sparked a renewed appreciation for our communities and our neighbors. And as we think about building a better and more resilient Canada, healthy communities are an exceptional place to start. By investing in our communities and building infrastructure that works for Canadians, we are creating jobs and growing our economy. We are making our communities stronger and more connected, and we are building a Canada where everyone has a fair shot at success. So we will continue to work with our partners to make life easier and more affordable for families, to create jobs, grow the middle class, and create a healthier and safer Canada. So on behalf of the government and Minister LeBlanc, thank you so much for all the work that you do. And I'm very pleased to be here to make this announcement today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Parliamentary Secretary O'Connell. How nice to meet you, and how wonderful that you come from the booming metropolis of Pickering, and that you were a local councillor there and deputy mayor. Wonderful that you're bringing that perspective to the government of Canada. We are very appreciative of that, and I appreciate Andrea grounding us in the reminding us that this is about place and about land. And Elder Commanda, always wonderful to have you signaling to us whence we have come, and the environment in which we reside. And you also, at the beginning, remarked during the little pregame, is that it's all women today. And this is International Women's Month, let's say. And as we know, women are often at the center of community. And I actually think that even our ASL and LSQ folks are women, but I know our translator is male. So Yannick, we're always happy to have you here as well. And I'm Mary Rowe, and I work at CUI. And I happen to be coming in from my home in Toronto, which is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, home to many diverse First Nation and Métis and Inuit folks across Turtle Island. And I think, as my colleagues have acknowledged, this is a moment of extraordinary global upheaval. We've had upheavals like this before in different parts of the world, in the global south, for instance, but here we are facing it in Europe as well. And we've just gone through an enormous rupturing that many of our participants here who happen to live in the city of Ottawa experienced when there was an event there that was unprecedented as well. So we're at a moment, we're at a time of struggle and people coming to terms with the way in which the world is not, in their view, serving their needs and aspirations. And I'm so appreciative that we're taking a moment like this to acknowledge some ways in which communities are responding to what people are in need of through placemaking. And so really appreciative of the leadership of Minister LeBlanc, and for you to be with us, Jennifer, to signal the Government of Canada's commitment to this, and my fabulous colleagues at CFC who have been involved in initiating this project and conceiving of it and working with community foundations across the country. So we're really lucky that we get a chance now to learn about some fantastic initiatives. And so I'm going to ask my panelists to expose their cameras. And Jennifer, it's up to you if you want to stay visible, or you can, but I know you're going to be there listening, because I'm sure that you too are interested in these really great stories that people can share with us about placemaking and about how the Healthy Communities Initiative resources are being deployed. As both Andrea and the Parliamentary Secretary indicated, this program is massively oversubscribed, which is a nice problem to have. And it just demonstrates how profoundly people are engaged in the ways in which they can contribute to, as Andrea so eloquently suggested, community infrastructure, that we're all engaged in that process, and that the Government of Canada made available some resources to support your efforts, so that, and I'm hoping this is going to be one of our lessons out of COVID, I know there'll be many, is that we can engage ourselves in how do we actually make our places more effective at meeting our needs and the needs of our neighbors, and how that is going to, and that's grounded in the ancestral traditions of the First Nations peoples. And maybe through some extraordinary global event, we will come back to older ways of knowing and find ways to align our investments to support that. So we have a really great, interesting group of women here who are going to talk to us about their programs. I'm going to ask Nicole and Jessica to first describe for us the Yoga Outreach Initiative, and I'm going to listen with great interest while they speak. And I just want to remind people that if you need translation, as I do, or others do, the language that you want to listen in is the language that you toggle at the bottom of your screen. So if you'd like to hear in English, press English. If you'd like to hear in French, press French. And we encourage people in the chat and on the session here to speak in either language, whichever they prefer. And of course, in the chat, remember, please give us questions, all sorts of comments, leads, ideas, ways to strengthen initiatives that you're hearing about. This is really an open as a Zoom conversation can ever be. It's an open dialogue, so we look forward to doing that. So I'll go to you first, Nicole and Jessica, and really pleased to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having us here. It's quite an honor. I'm not sure that either of us was completely prepared to see that there were 221 attendees here. So welcome. And again, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to share about this project. Yeah, just to situate myself, as you said, Mary, my name is Nicole, and I am the Director of Teacher Training and Mentorship for a nonprofit organization here in Vancouver called Yoga Outreach. Yoga Outreach is based on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations people. And primarily what we do is provide trauma-informed yoga programming to organizations that serve populations of people that might not otherwise get access to yoga programming. In addition to that sort of foundational work, we have the great honor of being able to partner with folks like Jessica, my co-director and co-facilitator in the First Nations Women's Yoga Initiative, in order to bring culturally sensitive, trauma-informed yoga training to various communities. Maybe I'll hand it over to you, Jessica, and you can speak a bit more.
Jo, gelikas dochla nugo am la tsutalas, hetman ligmi Jessica Baruden, Guklan la Yalis, Gauklan la Numplis, Lu Watmis, Lu Quagil. Really happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction. As Nicole mentioned, we work together on the First Nations Women's Yoga Initiative. So I'm one of the community leads. I live and work in my home community in Northern Vancouver Island, particularly in Alert Bay, British Columbia. I'm a doctoral student, and my research looks at developing yoga programming for First Nations women and girls, and in particular looking at ways of braiding knowledge from our own Kwakwaka'wakw worldviews. So looking at our Gwa'ilelas, our traditional teachings and our language and values, and aligning that and understanding how that works with the tradition and philosophy of yoga. And we, through the program of the First Nations Women's Yoga Initiative, we look at understanding multiple ways of knowing, including Western science and trauma-informed practices. And so through this partnership, Nicole and I have been working together to develop an 80-hour curriculum for community members to participate in. And this program is delivered virtually. So we connect through Zoom. We have virtual classrooms. And what we're very excited about this year is offering this program to our second cohort and weaving in a lot more language learning. So through this practice, this beautiful practice of yoga that comes from India, we are able to deepen our connections to our own cultural worldviews and understanding with our participants, who are all First Nations. Some of the participants are mostly from Vancouver Island, or the Kwakwaka'wakw cultural group. But we also have other participants who come from other parts of Turtle Island or other parts of Canada, and also a Native American woman who's joining us as well. So we're really pleased to have such diverse participants and learners, and such an amazing group of guest faculty who come to impart their knowledge. Several folks from different disciplines, yoga teachers, and Indigenous scholars. So I think I'll pause there and see if Mary has any more questions about the initiative. Gaila Kasla.
Thanks, Jessica. Just a couple of fascinating connections that you two are illustrating. I'm conscious that some people are having trouble hearing. So you may have to, if I could encourage all the panelists to speak up a bit. Nobody ever complains about not being able to hear me, but others of you who are more dulcet toned, you might have to just raise your voice a little bit. And I've had someone in the chat ask me to stop moving. If only my mother were here to hear you say that. She's long dead, but I hear you. I will try to stop moving so I'm not distracting you. What's interesting about Nicole and Jessica, your approach is you're talking about the connection of place and body and values and culture and approach to our environment. It's a fascinating mesh that you've created, and this technology has made it possible, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we're definitely bringing forward a holistic approach, as you said. And, initially, when we ran the first cohort, we had planned to do this in person. So it was a bit of a panic in the first cohort when we had to shift. And I think a lot of folks have found this during this strange time. In some ways, it was a blessing. It actually made the program far more accessible to a broader, range of students. And so we've been
than you would have
very
gotten.
grateful.
Yeah, if you'd had to gather. Yeah. And Jessica, were you thinking about this kind of thing pre-pandemic, or did the pandemic give you the impetus to start to figure out what this might look like? And I'm going to ask you to just speak up a little bit to make sure people can hear you.
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit louder. As I mentioned, I'm a doctoral student, so this is really the foundation of my research and developing a program that really aligns all these aspects that we're talking about. So I was very grateful to work alongside the Yoga Outreach Society and have some support from an organization to develop this type of initiative and to really work together to bring our networks together and to navigate what that looks like. So we did, as Nicole mentioned, had make a pivot to do this virtually. And through this time together, we've been just imagining what could happen as the pandemic restrictions start to wane and we can start to look at gathering in person. And but even through that, in my own community, we're building capacity, and that's really what our focus has been, is to connect with our participants. So we have about 20 folks able to join us in each cohort, and so that is for us to support them on a very deep level and to build connections. And a lot of these women and the participants know each other. They have family relationships or kinship ties, and many of them live in urban areas and some live in very remote communities. So it's strengthening these connections. We do have also a fluent speaker who is a core member of our team, Elder Guitmalas Vera Newman. So she brings that language, she brings that grandmother energy and connection, and supports those that relationship building. So we're very grateful to have the time that we can and using the tools of technology to connect, and finding ways where we can really strengthen in person, in community gatherings. So that's where the women have these toolkits and these resources and mentorship from our team to start to create their own initiatives in community. So that's what we're most excited about.
It's going to be so interesting as we transition back into face-to-face, and how do we keep the benefits of this technology and the people, as Nicole mentioned and that Jessica reinforced, that have come into these processes who might not have in the before time, but we want to get back into some kind of physical community. So it's going to be so interesting to see how we do that in all sorts of ways. Thanks, both of you. We're now going to go to the other part of the country. We're going to go east to La Petite Rocher in New Brunswick en français. And bienvenue Nadine and Corinne.
So welcome
tell
Nadine
us everything.
and Corinne.
Merci, Mary.
Thank you,
Mon nom
Mary.
est Karine Boudreau.
My name is
Je suis
Karine
directrice
Boudreau.
à l'école
I'm the
Domaine
director
étudiant à
at
Petit Rocher.
the Domaine étudiant
Effectivement,
school
au
in Petit
Nouveau-Brunswick,
Rocher in New
l'autre bout du
Brunswick.
pays.
at the other
de nos
end of the
collègues ici.
country, and
J'aimerais
I'm with a
commencer par
colleague
juste un
here.
petit
I'd
moment
like
de
to
gratitude
start
d'être ici
by
autour de la table avec vous.
thanking you for inviting us
Que
around
le
the table
gouvernement du
today.
Canada soit prêt à
Thanking the government of
investir dans
Canada
des
for
projets
investing
aussi
in
riches,
such
mais avec des
rich
gains qui sont pas
projects.
toujours tangibles, mais
But
tout aussi
sometimes the results are not always
avec tout
concrete
autant
or
de valeur.
tangible, but
Donc,
they are very
l'éducation,
valuable
la
anyways.
santé
So that
mentale
is
de nos jeunes, la
education,
résilience,
mental
etc.
health of our
Un grand
youth,
merci.
resilience. So thank you very much.
Donc, Elder Commanda a beaucoup parlé des enfants
Elder
lors de
Commanda talked
son
about children
introduction au
quite a bit
début de la
during
rencontre.
her opening
Eh bien,
remarks.
pour nous, ils sont au
And
centre de notre
for us,
projet.
they are at the center
C'est
of our project.
pourquoi notre projet pourrait
That's
se
why
bâtir
our
sur les terres
project
non cédées des
will be
peuples
built
Mi'kmaq,
on the
ici au
unceded territory
Nouveau-Brunswick,
of the Mi'kmaq people here in New
va
Brunswick,
servir à
and
l'école et aux écoles
will
environnantes, mais aussi à la
be
communauté.
used by schools
Il
and
se
by
veut
the
un
community.
lien
This project
multifonctionnel, un
is a
contexte d'apprentissage en communauté.
multifunctional complex
Donc,
for
où est-ce
learning
qu'on va
in the community,
retrouver
where
une partie
we
dévouée
will
à l'art et à la culture, donc avec une scène
will focus
extérieure
on
qui va
art
aussi
and culture
servir
with
de
an
classe pour nos élèves. Il va aussi avoir
stage
un
for
palier
students.
éducatif
And there
avec
will also be an
justement cette classe-là,
education
mais aussi
section with that
des
class, an
panneaux
education
d'interprétation
program
de toutes sortes.
with
Un lieu où est-ce
a
que
lot
la
of
communauté
different
pourra
interpretation
contribuer à l'éducation de nos élèves,
programs,
de
and
nos
the
enfants de la
community will
communauté,
contribute
parce
to
que
the learning of the
justement,
children in school.
une des phrases qu'on
Because
aime se
one
dire
of the
avec un nouveau
things
modèle
we would like to say
pédagogique
with the new
qu'on a développé,
pedagogical
c'était
model
que
that
ça
we've
prend un
developed,
village pour
we need
éduquer ou
a
élever
whole
un enfant.
village to
On y
raise
croit beaucoup,
one child.
donc on
We
avait besoin
believe in
d'un lieu
that. So we
sécuritaire
needed to
justement
have
pour
a safe
permettre à la
space
communauté de
to allow the
s'impliquer
community
dans
to
nos
get
différents projets.
involved in the various
On a
projects with the
aussi un
children. We
espace
also have a
dédié à
space that is dedicated
l'autosuffisance,
to
donc à l'éducation
self-sustainability.
avec
So
la récupération d'eau,
education with
les panneaux
water
solaires, les
reuse of
jardins
water,
communautaires,
solar
où est-ce qu'on
panels,
veut essayer de
community
de
gardens
produire
where we
assez
want to
pour
try to
fournir notre
produce
cafétéria,
enough food
encore une fois avec l'aide
to
des gens de
provide
notre
the
communauté.
cafeteria with food.
Il va aussi avoir
And we'll
des
also
secteurs
have
liés à notre patrimoine.
sections
on
or
parle de
programs
mural
related to our
historique au
heritage.
niveau de la
That
francophonie
is
des Acadiens,
a
mais aussi
historic
d'un espace
mural
dédié qui a été développé
portraying
en partenariat avec Patrimoine
Francophones,
Canada
Acadians,
sur
and we also
l'histoire
develop
des
with
Premières Nations.
Heritage Canada. We want
Donc,
to
on
have
va
a
se
mural on the
servir de
history of First
l'enseignement
Nations.
qui vont nous
So we will
fournir
use the
dans le futur
teachings
pour
provided by
peaufiner cet
Indigenous
espace-là où est-ce qu'il va être dédié
nations to
à
create
cette
this safe
importante
space
partie
that
de
we
notre histoire.
dedicated to this important part of our history.
Ça résume un peu
That
le lieu qu'on va avoir.
summarizes the safe space we will
assez
create.
grand.
It's quite
On a à peu
vast,
près
it's
6
quite
000
big. We have around
personnes dans notre grande communauté. Si on
6,000
sort des
people in
limites de
our
notre petit village de
metropolis,
Petit-Rocher,
if we leave
qui vont
our the
pouvoir
limits of
accéder à
Petit
cette
Rocher
place qui va
village,
être
that will have
accessible pour
access
tous
to this
et
safe
ouverte
space
à
that
l'année.
will be accessible to
On a
everyone and
bien
open
hâte d'y accueillir les
all year. And
populations
we are looking forward to
d'aller d'en
welcoming these
profiter avec
people
les
and
élèves.
the community
Le
and
village
to
de Petit-Rocher
using
a
it
été
with
un
the
partenaire
students.
énorme dans la
Petit Rocher
mise
village
en
was a very important partner
la mise en réalité de ce projet-là.
in
Donc, on apprécie
creating this project. So we
énormément
truly
tout ce qu'on a
appreciate
la
their
chance
contribution.
de voir se
And
passer.
this is a great opportunity.
J'aimerais ajouter,
Yes, I'd like to add that
le partenariat, le
the
village de Petit
partnership
Rocher.
with
Quand on a
the Petit Rocher
discuté,
village,
on
when we
travaille beaucoup
discussed
avec
this
le
with
village, le
them, because
conseil
we work a
municipal.
lot with the village, with the
Puis,
municipal
quand on
council,
parlait,
when
Petit Rocher,
we were
c'est une
talking,
ville
well,
qui est
Petit
un
Rocher
petit village
is
qui est
a
très
small
animé.
village that is
Puis,
very vibrant.
l'impact de la
And
pandémie
the
a
impact
fait
of the
que
pandemic
la vitalité, ça a diminué la vitalité, ça a diminué la
reduced
circulation dans
the
le village.
vibrancy and
Puis, on
traffic
dirait
in
qu'il y
the
avait toujours
village.
un
And now
inconfort
it
où on
seems
allait.
that people are,
Ça fait cet
we're always
espace-là
uncomfortable
en plein
wherever
air.
we go. So
Ça va
this,
nous permettre justement
this
de se
outdoor safe
rencontrer,
space
de
will
se
allow us to
réunir.
meet,
Le
to
village
get together.
avait déjà,
And the
avait
village
déjà des
had
demandes de
already
personnes dans la
received
communauté
requests
qui voulaient un
from
jardin
people, members of the
communautaire,
community, who
mais il
wanted a
manquait
community garden,
d'espace où le
but
faire.
we didn't have
Le
a
terrain
space
d'école est
to
parfait
have that.
pour ça.
The
C'était
school,
déjà un plan qu'il y
the
avait dans la
school
tête des élèves et de la direction de
ground is
l'école,
perfect for
tout
that.
le personnel.
So this
Ça
is already a
serait
plan that
un
the teachers
projet
wanted
rassembleur,
to do.
un
It's a
projet
project that will bring
intergénérationnel
people together. It's
qui va être parfait pour la
intergenerational. It'll be
communauté qui se
perfect for the
trouve aussi dans
community.
le centre du
And
village.
the community,
Ça va
this
être un
place,
endroit
this
parfait
school ground
qui
is
va
in the
attirer
center of the
toutes les
village. It's a
personnes parce que
perfect
même
place to attract
étant
people
sur le bord de la
because
baie des Chaleurs, on est situé sur
being
le bord de la baie des Chaleurs, la
close to
pêche
the
est
baie des
aussi
Chaleurs, to the ocean,
une
fishing is
économie
also
importante dans la
an
région.
important part of our
Puis
economy.
à l'intérieur du
And
complexe dans les
within the the
espace, il va y avoir
complex, we
l'interprétation
will
des textes.
have
Et
a
c'est
section
les
for
élèves
fisheries
qui vont
interpretation,
contribuer,
and the
qui vont faire la
students will
recherche pour
contribute
avoir
to
des panneaux
doing the research
d'informatifs
and having
pour
information
informer
panels,
la population, informer
information
les touristes qui
to
viennent
provide information to
dans la
inform,
région pendant
to
l'été.
provide
Alors,
provide
ça va être
information to tourists who
vraiment
come to the region.
utilisé
So
par
it's going
la
to be
grande
used
communauté de Petit
by
Rocher et tous les
the
villages
whole community of
environnants.
Petit Rocher and all the surrounding villages.
Fascinating. Just a fascinating approach that the two of you have taken, and thank you for sharing it with us. I'm also interested, I just Googled, and Petit Rocher is about 2,000 people, right?
Yes, it is. It's a very small village, but when you take all around, there's about 6,000 people.
Then it's a really booming metropolis. Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, we are the Institut Urbain de Canada, but we make that point that if you live in adjacency, I don't know how to say that en français, Yannick, I hope you'll help me. If you live close to one another, then you by definition are urban. You're in an interdependent relationship. And what's wonderful about the initiative you're talking about, and I think I just want to say that about the first one as well, and what we'll get to, Connie, don't worry, I haven't forgotten, we're coming to you next, but is that people are listening across the country and are inspired. That's really a lot of what this project is about, this initiative is about, is to highlight really inspiring approaches that we can all learn from, you know, that copying others is a highest form of flattery. And the fact that your community is quite small in population, and you've been able to find a way to do this kind of placemaking, and you're also using an asset, a public asset, a school. So I think it's highly relatable to people of any size, even if you're in a large metropolitan area or in a small village. Really tremendous. Thank you for sharing that and illustrating that. I'm sure there'll be questions in the chat about how this could be relatable in other places. Okay, Connie, over to you. Let's bring it home. We're going to hear, and you are really at the other edge, although you're not physically right this moment, but you are going to talk to us about Pond Inlet. So welcome, and we're looking forward to hearing what you'll share with us.
Thank you, Mary. As she's introduced, I'm Connie Baines. I'm actually joining the webinar from Southern BC, Ktunaxa Traditional Territory, and have been working with the municipality of Pond Inlet up in the Northern Territory of Nunavut. So if it looks like I'm reading my summary, I am, because I don't want to miss any details. So the project that we're working on is to strengthen the local food system and address food insecurity in Pond Inlet. Extremely high food prices, high unemployment rate, poverty, and misuse of financial resources all contribute to many residents stretching their grocery dollars by purchasing snacks and cheaper meals, which are often not a healthy choice. So, and as you can appreciate, by the time fresh produce is shipped to Canada's far north, it's no longer fresh and is often damaged in the freezing temperatures, getting it from the plains to the grocery stores. So our goal is to provide residents with free access to fresh, locally grown produce. And we believe that the Tower Gardens, a product that's offered through Juice Plus, will be part of that solution. So Pond Inlet is currently retrofitting a Hamlet-owned building into a community wellness center. And the community hasn't had this kind of center to run health and wellness programs out of before. So this is a fantastic opportunity for the community, and to have this new public space is very exciting. So the community garden is going to be housed in the community's wellness center. Takes up very little space, actually. We calculated about 225 square feet. And the project also includes a new kitchen for the wellness center. And it's going to be used to hold cooking classes where we'll teach young adults how to use the fresh produce from the Tower Gardens. And also the Food Bank Society up there will serve meals through the soup kitchen out of the wellness center to our needy. That's it in a nutshell, Mary.
Great, you caught me as I was trying to make a note. Again, the through lines for these things: food as a kind of central kind of way of gathering people together, hey? And again, regardless of community size. I mean, I know everyone is like me, completely moved to tears looking at the outpouring of people are offering to the Ukraine. And we've seen it in other, when we've had huge migrations, this notion of people wanting to offer something tangible, and food is part of it. Maybe you can just give people, Connie, the basics of Pond Inlet. The population of Pond Inlet would be?
2016 census has the population at 1,617. It's actually dropped because 2021 census numbers just came out, and I think we dropped to 1,550, like 1,555. Yeah.
All it takes, when you're that population, all it takes is a few families to move, and then it has a huge impact. Yeah. So I want to ask you collectively a question, if I could, and then any or either of you or all of you could respond. But in terms of this intervention and what you're trying to accomplish through it, what do you think the biggest challenge is for you? Has it been, or is it going to become? You already have a sense of what you're trying to do. Can you flag for me a challenge? Who wants to take a stab at that? Have you got one at the top of your mind? I'll go to my yoga friends, Nicole and Jessica. Is there a challenge?
You know, I think that one of the pieces that has been challenging is finding effective ways to retain students who have very complex lives.
Yeah.
And who are living with often, you know, a lot of challenge and, you know, issues around marginalization and, you know, poverty and mental health. So really creating spaces that are flexible and supportive, and being creative around how to continue to bring people in as best we can. Jessica, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think one challenge is actually having access to our traditional homelands, being able to get to the land, to our village sites, and to learn, have that land-based learning. It is very costly to get out to some of those sites, especially where we are on Vancouver Island. It takes you know, boat transportation, and some of these villages have not been lived in for some generations. So that's a challenge, and that's something that we're hoping to support, because there's so much benefit to people's mental health and spiritual health, and just creating that connection and those relationships with participants and for community members as well.
Yeah, and again, this is where this technology is helping us, we hope, to bridge some of that. But we know we have a huge digital divide still in the country, with lots of people that don't have access. So that's one of those profound learnings coming out of COVID. We've got to fix that so we have more equitable access. Yeah. What about for Nadia and Corinne? You both work for the municipal government, I think, do you? And so no, or do you? Are you not? The Nadia looks,
yes, we do.
I've got to say, the backdrop behind Nadia looks like you give away that clip, that little blackboard, that little bulletin board, kind of looks like you were Herman. But has there been a particular challenge that you've had to overcome working for a municipal government and trying to forge the kinds of partnerships that you've been trying to cultivate?
I would say that the financial aspect is oftentimes in the education world a challenge to develop projects, especially projects of the size of this one. Of course, by establishing a partnership with the village, that helped. We were even able to go beyond our requirements by listening to students and their ideas. Of course, we were very excited as the project was developing. Canonized project, we have a lot of ideas. We are machines at having ideas, and once we're together, we are facing financial challenges because we always we think big, and we're always making our projects even bigger. We're also facing in the education world the challenge that is that is dropout. We have a lot of dropouts actually, and we're trying to keep students involved, retain them in school. And after it's spring break next week, after we get back from spring break, we'll sit down with a partnership from a partnership that is a partner that is planting trees. So the students will help build gardening boxes. They'll be able to create that garden together. So that was a challenge. The challenge was to attract the students and to retain them throughout the project. But we hope that this initiative will retain them, keep them in school. Yes, I'd like to add that by looking at the challenges I can foresee in the future, I'm seeing with people from the community who would be involved, we'll need volunteers to maximize each aspect of the complex. We hope that we'll be able to have an intergenerational comfort level after the pandemic, because we are reticent to going to spaces with other people. The distance that is now between people is remaining, and hopefully we can put that behind us, and getting elders and youth and other members of the community together again, to have this proximity again, to reestablish this proximity, because we already have elders. We have a volunteer elder who's been coming to our project since last year, because we had a small garden at school at the time. She came and she was helping students. We started cultivating in the spring indoors, and we learned that by doing projects with members from the community, there's an exchange of knowledge, there's a transfer of knowledge, and that's beneficial for students. These are significant activities for students.
It's so true that, again, both of your projects have a tangible activity that connects people and helps us straddle a difference and be in community with in a different kind of way, very grounded in practice. I appreciate that. Connie, any comment from you? We're kind of getting into the home stretch here. Any comment from you in terms of the challenge that you're continuing to overcome and that the project's helping you to do?
I think one of the challenges could be maybe keeping the enthusiasm for the project in perpetuity. I know people will be, excited to have the fresh produce, and just, like to keep it going. The project itself will, afford probably 2 part-time employment positions, which would be fantastic in the community. But it's just to, like to keep it going in the future, like 3, 5, 10 years from now. It's just to keep the gardens growing for people.
Yeah, sustainability is I think that's a challenge all of us are facing, isn't it? That we could start something, and then how do you actually get a local support and continue to have whatever other support you need? Well, I appreciate all of you coming on and trying to just give us a sense of it. It's only a little glimpse. So the great thing about this initiative, though, is that people can learn more about your funded initiatives, and they can learn about all sorts of others. It's now up on the websites, and I know that Jacqueline has put it in, and my colleagues have put it into the chat, so people can have a look and see the range of initiative that's been funded. I'm sure that Jennifer, you're like me, appreciative of the diversity of investment here and the effort that's being put by communities to really think up imaginative ways. We wouldn't be a really healthy culture if we didn't have people doing all sorts of different things in different kinds of ways, and that's how we're learning. So I appreciate these 3 initiatives coming forward, and to show us that it takes, well, it was said earlier by Elder Commanda, it takes a village, and placemaking is taking a lot of hands, many forms of connection, but there's always this sort of sense of common engagement that we're with an intention that placemakers bring to this work and to this activity. And wow, we've endured a lot over 2 years, and isn't it remarkable to have these kinds of initiatives come out of that mix? So I just want to thank Nadia and Corinne and Merci and Jessica, Nicole, and Connie. And I'm going to now pass over. I should also just thank our colleagues at the Community Foundations of Canada and our interpreters, our fast-moving sign language folks, and our fast language interpreters who put up with the speed with which I speak and others speak. I appreciate that. And to you, Parliamentary Secretary O'Connell, really nice to have you, and glad to have your perspective in this mix. And Jacqueline, I'm going to now pass to you, and you're going to, I gather, take questions from the media. So I'll pass to you, and thanks everybody. I'm looking forward to learning more and watching as your initiatives continue. Let's hope, Connie, as you say, to continue to grow and continue to evolve and be sustained.
Thank you so much, Mary. Yeah, so now we're going to have a chance for members of the media to ask questions to Parliamentary Secretary O'Connell. So just if you are a member of the media and you would like to ask a question, if you could please use the raise your hand function, and we will call in the order that people raise their hands. And while we wait, I just want to reiterate everything that Mary has just said. Thank you so much to all of the projects for sharing those stories. It's great to see just the different types of amazing projects that are happening across the country. I'm not seeing any questions from the media at this point. Thank you again, Parliamentary Secretary. It was delightful to have you here to be part of this fantastic announcement, and I hope everyone has a lovely afternoon.
Thank you as well. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for sharing this.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks also to Elder Commanda. Always great to have her with us. We will learn so much. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.